What do you do when the child you're raising doesn't look anything like the one you imagined? When their choices, their attitude, or their behavior makes you feel confused, frustrated, or even ashamed? The story of the prodigal son isn't just a story about forgiveness. It's about parenting with the kind of wisdom and patience that can only come from God. We're going to talk about what that story teaches us and how to love the child in front of you, even when they feel far from who you raised them to be. I'm Tanisha, the VBS life coach, author of The Real Pain of Stress, What to Do When Bubble Baths Won't Fix It, mom of a teenage son entering her empty nester stage of life, educator with over 2 decades of experience practicing discipline with hundreds of other people's babies, and regular old mom out here hoping that her child is led by God, because at this point I have to turn him over to who he's gonna be. If you want kind, responsible kids who stay connected after they start life as adults, and you don't want them to have to heal from the way you raised them, you're in the right place. Damage-free discipline is all about honoring God in the way we treat our kids and keeping them accountable without leaving scars. Let's get into it. You had a picture of what your child would be like. Maybe it was about their personality, their choices, their faith, or even just how they would act in your house. And now you're looking at them thinking, this is not who I imagined I would be raising. The reality is, our expectations can quietly become idols. The father in the story of the prodigal son didn't stop being a father just because the son didn't follow the script. He didn't force his son to be somebody that he wasn't ready to be. He didn't micromanage or try to manipulate him back into being who he wanted. He stayed anchored in God. And when the son returned, he didn't say, this isn't who I raised you to be. He welcomed him in as he was. We don't always realize it, but sometimes our vision for our kids becomes the silent standard that we measure everything against. But they are not supposed to be a reflection of our performance. That one's important. I'm going to say it again. They are not supposed to be a reflection of your performance. They're not your second chance at getting childhood right. They are not here to fulfill your dreams and fantasies. They are who they are, and your job is to lead them, not to shape them in your own image. When we are disappointed and frustrated, it's usually not just about them. It's about what that gap between the expectation we had and the reality that's showing up exposes within us, whether it's fear or pride or insecurity or control. So what version of your child are you still holding on to? And is it keeping you from loving and leading the real one in front of you? Frustration and disappointment are often symptoms of control. The prodigal son did not follow the plan. He rejected the values, the structure, and the wisdom that he was raised with. But his father didn't explode. He didn't shame him. He didn't try to follow him and fix it. He released him. And by releasing him, I don't mean that he gave up on him. He gave him up to God. And sometimes that's all we can do. And when the time was right, he welcomed him back without conditions. without I told you so's. You're trying to force a version of your child to come out instead of asking God, what do you see in them that I don't see yet? It's okay to grieve that gap between who you thought your child would be and who they actually are. But don't let that disappointment turn into resentment. Don't punish them for not being who you imagined. Ask yourself, am I reacting to who they are or who they're not? And if embarrassment is starting to creep in, stop and ask yourself, what am I afraid this says about me? Have I made obedience, image, or success an idol in my parenting? When I showed my son my list of proposed topics for my podcast for the next couple months, this one really grabbed him. And he said, Mom, you have to talk about this because I have so many friends where we have had this conversation. So please hear me when I say, I'm not saying these things to try to make you feel bad. I'm saying these things because your kids are talking about this and how they feel like they are never going to measure up to who you wanted them to be. So they're starting life feeling like they aren't enough. And this is something that you can absolutely control. If you know the relationship with your child is not where it should be, and you don't want to keep repeating the patterns that caused the damage in the first place, this is how you change that. In Damage-Free Discipline, I walk you step by step through how to lead your child with authority and emotional responsibility. Because this isn't just about losing control over them or becoming overly soft and gentle in a way that feels fake and foreign to you. This is about being able to hold the line without creating fear, adding distance, or building resentment between you. And I will help you recognize where your tone, where your triggers, and your own unexamined patterns are getting in the way of the mom you should be. And show you how to shift the way you lead so that your child doesn't have to recover from your parenting later. You don't have to figure this out alone. I had to figure this out alone, but you don't have to. I'll show you what to say, how to say it, and how to stay grounded when your child pushes back so that you can lead like the mom God is shaping you into and calling you to be. If this is what you've been looking for, go to vvslifecoach.com or click the link in the show notes. The story of the prodigal son gives us so much more information. And the thing that I really want to stick with you is their story's not over. The son didn't stay gone forever. He didn't stay far from God forever. And your child doesn't have to either. Just because the season doesn't look like how you want it to look or what you hoped it would look like doesn't mean that God is done with them. Your child's current behavior is not the end of their story. And it doesn't define your story either. They are free-willed thinking beings who are going to do what they want to do and believe what they want to believe and value what they value. And your role is to stay anchored, stay prayerful, stay available. Because even if they're not listening today, they're going to remember how you handled them in this moment, in this time in their lives. There are so many things that I didn't understand as a teenager. And I look back now and all I can say to my parents is, I'm so sorry and thank you so much. Because there are certain lessons that only come with time and maturity. You are not powerless here, and you are not alone. Think about what it would look like to fully parent the child in front of you with honesty and wisdom and love for who they are right now. That wraps up this week's episode. I would love to hear from you and what you would like to hear more about. So if you can do me a favor and just leave an honest review or comment down below the show, I'm going to read it and take that feedback and use it as I create future episodes. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next week.